You're coming all the way from Scotland?
From Manchester. It's okay. Here we are. So we undertook this journey starting April 1st. We were 7 of us, we were 5 left. 2 of them had to leave for employment reasons. They had to get back to India. And we continue to be here because we are very fortunate to have a local sponsor as well. As you can see, it's like a mobile, and they have done a lot of promotion and support for the idea of organ donation. So because they supported us, now they've found a CSR activity to continue with even after we leave. So I guess the dialogue continues and it doesn't have to be us only. A year and a half ago, I was asked by my brother to give a kidney. His failed, and of course he's my brother. I love him a lot, so I said yes right away. And he's a doctor himself. He's a neurosurgeon in Bangalore, and it was a very scary proposition. I'm human. My family right here, they were scared. But the fact that I had the possibility of maybe not having my brother around me, or the possibility of going through a little temporary discomfort, I think my brother won, and I decided to take on the temporary discomfort. My family here, my kids, Kavya, Surya, and my wife Deepali there. The rules in India are such that I cannot give my kidney unless my wife consents legally. And for her to consent, she had to be comfortable, and she wasn't, for obvious reasons.
They interviewed me, they were government officials with a camera, and they videotaped the whole conversation with me, where they kept asking me, you know, ghuma ghuma ke, are you sure you're okay? Are you doing this, freely, by your own will? Or is anybody coercing you or forcing you? There is a chance that, God forbid, something can happen to your husband. Are you still okay with it? I was crying. The kind of questions they actually asked me, I was sobbing, because it was almost like I knew, that God forbid things can go wrong, but I had consented. So it was like a very, very difficult decision. But the government involvement was 100%. They videotaped the whole conversation just to make sure that nobody was forcing me into it. It took us, today we're on the 75th day. So actual 71 days to reach. So yeah, he made it, and he drove all the way. So that is the message we want to give the world, that in spite of one kidney or being an organ donor, you can still lead a very normal, adventurous life. So that is very important.
And because I do something outrageous, it attracts some attention, and that attention gives me the opportunity to start the dialogue about organ donation, which is why we call ourselves, as you see here, the Gift of Life Adventure. And this is about gifting a life. Organ donation is nothing short of gifting a life to somebody. It can happen 2 ways. You must have heard all of this already. One is if you're a living donor. I'm a living donor because I gave my kidney as I'm still alive to tell the story. And or you could do this when you're deceased, and which is really what I'm trying to promote, and that's really what NHS here is trying to promote. In fact, we were supposed to visit the hospital you described because it is the largest transplant center in this country. Yes, Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And the South Asian community, or the Asian community as you call them here, are particularly shy of being donors. And since you are all part of this community now, in one way or the other, in the dialogue, if you can start within families, it's one thing to register, but it's before you get to the registry point, it is important for one to make up their mind. To clear your doubts with all the misinformation that's out there. There's a lot of sentiment and, more importantly, superstition attached to this, unfortunately. And that's the reason, from my experience of talking to people, that Indians don't come forward.
Hurdles and bottlenecks. Why people do not consider organ donation? I mean, just give us specific example. Forget about
that's what
offending
I s-
people's sentiment.
That's what I started with. There are three
Yeah.
things that they don't consider it for. One is superstition, one is
It's a
sentiment.
problem.
That's not going to get licked today. But 40 or 50 years from now, 20 years from now, when this generation gets old enough to be succumbing to the sicknesses that our society has started to develop because of whatever pollution, urbanization, we're all getting sick with different reasons. Do they have a chance at that point? Yes, they can. So, this is nothing but an azadi ki ladai. It's swasthya ki ladai.
एक और
So-
energy question पूछेंगे. What can government do, and how can we convince schools to
See,
take
today-
it as a subject in school?
So today the governments can only do is to encourage more dialogue.
What about schooling? You know,
In
should
schools.
be-
No, in schools, dialogue. Let kids get aware of it.
That's right.
Like that, I have access to other religious leaders. If I don't, I'll find access. The point is, one has to do it. Have them start changing the mindset from a spiritual, religious point of view. If they start talking about it,
They-
bhakt is nothing but a bhakt, a sheep,
Not
if you
just
call it.
Hindu,
Any.
Muslims, and
Absolutely. What I'm saying is religious and spiritual leaders are a good way to start changing one of the three problems. Superstition. Then comes sentiment. That happens within the family. You can change sentiment in the family. When somebody says, hey, and I have no problem with it, you should respect my wishes, that becomes a sentiment. It's also a sentiment. इनकी आखिरी ख्वाहिश ये थी तो करना ही पड़ेगा. Sentiment. Awareness. That's when the community gets together, and the moment somebody asks a question, the problem is nobody asks the question. जब सवाल करोगे तो जवाब आ ही जाएगा. बस सवाल करवाना है बस.
a lot of discussions and lecture, have taken place. And I thank Consulate General of India, Mr. Sharma, because we give him, 2 hours notice when we need his service, when the visa is required. So when he gives us short notice, we come running and attend his program. But
No, I'm really thankful.
but we are lucky.
We came to know only Friday, na?
I know. Yeah.
But we are lucky because as a community leader, I've never paid attention to this subject. The first time it's an eye-opener, and the major problem is lack of awareness because we have never thought about it. There's never awareness. You cannot. We can have hundreds of doctors sitting here unless you got community leaders. The solution has to come from within the community.
It has to, yeah.
And the only right word I have is inspiration. Right? You got to inspire people to do it. Right? Unless no amount of
Well, each
education.
one of us has it in us to inspire, even in the family. So
From my community, our Devinder Saji. So I'm sure he will go and spread the words. We have more than I think 100 Indian associations here. 2 of the chairs, or 3 we have here. Dr. Kishan Kumar is here from Gitanjali. Prakash Saab is heading his own association, Bihar Jharkhand Medical Association. So if you spread the word like Anilji said and start it dialogue within the families.
I'm launching what I call the Million Donor Program project, where we need to sign up 1 million donors. That's the goal. And I have taken certain steps already. This journey just got the dialogue started. Now my real work begins, and with all your help, one at a time, every individual comes here. Because we're trying to create donor cells. And I'm saying this because it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, you're an engineer, it doesn't matter. As long as you're alive, you're a human being, and you know you're going to go one day. Hopefully not for a long time. But at that point, what do you do with your body? So that's the dialogue we need to start. So I'm trying to create donor cells. Whether you register or not, that's step number 2. Step number 1 is deciding to do it, and then having this conversation with your family. We all have our own lives just like you, with professions. But I have to kuch karke jayenge.
Is this government involvement in this what you do?
No, you know how it is. It takes so much. I'd rather appeal to human sentiments than government policies right now. Because when there are enough people talking about it from the electorate, the government khud ba khud will fall in line with policies. So I'm not worried about
Yeah,
that.
that's what I want to know.